Question number 3, sub-question 2 of the PhilNITS FE afternoon portion of the exam. In this question, we are being asked, the following SQL statement increases salary by 10% for employees who contributed to getting orders from their customers of more than the total amount 10,000 in 2022. When a SQL2 is executed with the sample data shown above, it increases the salary of Frank Fairchild, and we need to know what answers should be put for the blanks. Here I put here the answers, but we need to of course understand why they are the correct answers. The first one is asking us whether to do an update to the employee or something else. And if we look at the choices for letter D, we got here create employee, insert into employee, update employee. Alternatively, we have the salary table where we can create a new salary, insert into salary, update salary, but we don't actually have a salary table at all. Instead, we have the employee table, and what we want to do is update the salary of the employee. So that's why letter E is the correct answer. Now the second part here is that after we update the salary, then we need to identify the employee. Which one should get the update? We can do that by identifying them using their employee ID. Here we have the statement order O, inner join order detail D. What inner join means, based on the explanation as well here, is that it returns the values on the match rows from left and right tables. Therefore, if the two tables have values that match, have rows that match, particularly I think we have to emphasize that part, the row, then inner join returns those rows. Otherwise, they're not included. So once we have that, we have the order and order details whose rows match. Next, we need to get hold of the employee using the employee ID. The employee actually is another table. So we have three tables here, the order table, the order detail table, and the employee table. We use the order, that's why it has O here, to know the employee ID, and we can get more details about the employee by connecting the order table using its employee ID with the employee table using the employee ID that is also there. This technique is something that if you've worked on databases, you'll likely also encounter immediately, and it uses the concept of primary keys and foreign keys, which are also explained in the description for this question. Okay, so for blank E, what we need to know is, since we've connected the order and the order detail together, we need to know which ones are we going for, so that we'll know if the sum amount is greater than 10,000. And to do that, we can look at the tables. Let's start first with the employee table, and we can see that the employee ID is here. This is the primary key for this table. We also have details like the employee name and the salary, which we need to increase if the employee has done a good job, meaning he has sold over 10,000 for the year 2022. It doesn't say if this yen or something else, but maybe we can go with dollars, US dollars in this case. And I think this is a yearly salary. Okay, so for order detail, we have here another for primary key, another key, it's called order ID, and we have the other keys which are called foreign keys, employee ID and customer ID. We need to connect order table with the employee table using the employee ID. So that's why Danny is connected to the order table via his ID, and we know that for this transaction it was Danny who did it. Okay, so from the order table we can look at the order detail table to know the item, the product, and the amount. The order ID here is the foreign key, and we connect that with the order ID, which is the primary key of the order table. From there, we know the employee ID, who handled the transaction, the order, and of course, from the order detail, we can learn more about things like how much was the item. Remember, we need to know who contributed over 10,000 for the year 2022. And if that employee is, for example, Danny, then we increase the salary. Also take note that for the order table, we have here the order date and the delivery date. So we can identify also from here the year. Given that, we can now say that really for blank E, we need to connect those two with order IDs, one for the order and one for the order detail. Now for the second part, or the one after this, I mean, we already put the year 2022 for the order date, and then we put group by O.employee ID having some D.amount greater than 10,000. The D here is for the order detail because we need to know the total amount, not just for one transaction done by the employee, but all the transactions of that employee for the year 2022. And then we use the group by here because we gotta have the employee identified, of course, and the amount that he has sold. When we sum up all those things, do we get over 10,000 or not? Okay. So therefore, for answer group for E, we choose letter D as the correct answer, and for letter F, we go with letter C. Actually, I think about half a year ago when I was attempting to answer this, I also wasn't too certain which one is the correct answer, particularly because the having some part, I think I haven't encountered this having some part before, but it turns out according to W3 schools, it's just another way of saying where, except that in this case, because if you have a big statement and you want to have multiple wheres for something like the one we have here, where it's supposed to be inside another type of statement, then we can go with having some, so that it's clear that it's for this part and not for the one previous to it. Okay, so that should explain this part of the question, and we'll continue on with some of the remaining ones.